Are they ready for a real relationship? You've got to learn this about them to know for sure. Given that the dating world is rather chaotic, if one wants a real relationship, then dating is the getting to know you process. And what today we're going to talk about how to spot someone who's ready for a real relationship. All right, Paula, what's a real relationship?
That's a good question. I mean, I would say that it has to be defined as what two people want.
Yeah.
Right. There's two sides to the relationship, and it can be anything from a long-term partner to a casual dating situation to a situationship.
Okay. So you think a situationship is a real relationship?
I don't know. I mean, one that might be in it may not know that it's not real. Let's put it that way.
I oftentimes, you haven't heard me in previous videos, but I often say that people are in a friends with benefits relationship, but they don't know about it.
Okay.
No, wait, do you get what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that they're in a relationship of a sort, but one person thinks it's serious and the other person's like, no, this is casual. I'm just going with the flow, that sort of thing. Why do you think that happens so frequently, that there's so much ambiguity in the process?
I think it comes down to communication more than anything.
Okay,
but also, I think some are not truthful in the communication as well. Like when one is asked, are you looking for a long-term partner? And the answer seems to immediately be yes, when it's really not.
Okay, so the word communication, I think we humans are actually rather poor at this thing called communication. Why do you say we suck at it?
We suck at it. I think people in general are, I say this all the time, that they like to avoid conflict. They're conflict avoidant.
Okay.
And I would say even some of the most communicative are still conflict avoidant because they don't want to hurt you.
Good point. So communication is really about a couple things. I would say, particularly in romantic relationships, I'd say it's your ability to articulate your thoughts, your feelings, your desires, your needs and wants in a way that the other person can see, hear, and understand you.
And that you're speaking truth.
Okay. Oh, absolutely. Speaking truth. Yeah. So, but did you hear that? That the other person can see, hear, and understand you. And I think oftentimes we might be thinking that the other person is understanding us because we're just in the perception that what we are saying is our truth.
Perception, and it doesn't mean projection.
Oh, well, now we're going to get down a whole nother rabbit hole if we want to talk about projection. Yeah. It's interesting. So about a couple of weeks ago, Paul and I found ourselves in a kind of a disagreement of something. You don't know what I'm about to talk about. And in this disagreement, I could have swore I said X, Y, and Z. Yes. Okay, now you know.
Yes.
And I could have swore I told her X, Y, and Z. And she said, no, you didn't tell me X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, no, I said X, Y, and Z. Now, here's what occurred to me. I might have been thinking X, Y, and Z. I might have even perceived that I said it out loud. But I'm going to own that there's a good chance that I might not have said it. But in my mind, I thought it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to communication, we have our own beliefs that we're actually saying things that sometimes are just in our head. And so it makes you wonder, how good are we humans at this thing called communication? Oh, and then God forbid we have to add our memory in this equation.
Yeah. Well, it's getting worse and worse as the time goes on.
So do you remember when we were watching 9 Perfect Strangers? And in the second season, she said humans deconstruct their memory, or they deconstruct what they believe happened and then reconstruct it in their mind.
Right.
And oftentimes what we think has happened could be a complete fabrication of what actually happened.
Yeah.
And where I'm going with this, and I know this seems off tangent to real relationships, is in the form of communication. You said, hey, I want a relationship. The other person says, me too.
Right.
But
and what does that really mean?
What does that really mean? So for today's conversation, I want to talk about life partnership-based relationships. Those couples that genuinely want a significant relationship. They want it to go the distance, and they're operating from that premise. Now, sadly, a lot of people today dating don't know what they want. they're operating from a premise of they know they want companionship, they know they want connection, they know they want sex. Maybe they just want it a little bit, but we term it in the form of relationship. And I think it requires determining whether this, if you want a life partner, determining, is this person even ready for a relationship?
Okay.
Okay.
I might piggyback on that. Just a
Sure.
tad.
Sure.
And say
Spin.
that those who they may, I'm not sure they don't know what they want. It is, I think they believe they know what they want.
Okay.
And that when it comes down to brass tacks and really figuring it out, or having circumstances where this is not working, why is it not working, those type of things, they learn to differentiate what they want from what they don't want. And but that takes
Absolutely.
time.
Yeah. It's interesting now that we're living together. We started our relationship almost 10 months ago. I don't know. I mean, I think I had a vision of what it would look like to some degree. I felt like we would get along in harmony. We would share social activities, hobbies, mutual interest, spending time with family and friends. We've already traveled, a couple times.
Mhm.
And in that, but I couldn't have predicted exactly how it was going to feel.
Mm.
I think I had an idea of what it was going to feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I
Take that piece away.
So coming back to
See.
readiness, I think I shared with you something I've talked about in previous videos, where I say relationship readiness is when your desire, your vision, your capacity, your commitment to commitment exceeds your fears, your past hurts, and your fantasy or projections around relationships.
Okay, that's a lot to take on.
Okay, so let's pick each one apart. Let's talk about desire and vision.
Okay.
So can you share what your desire and vision for a relationship was before we even dated?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I had my ultimate man list.
Okay.
Okay. And my ultimate man list, I think this has been building over years, maybe even decades, right? So, it might have started off that he has a great job and can take care of himself. Now it's
And
like
six-pack abs.
Yeah. Six-pack abs. He danced like Channing Tatum.
Okay. Wow. Did your list really have that?
It actually
Okay.
did.
Okay. Okay.
And then at the end of it, I said something like, I'm not asking for too much, am I?
That's funny.
But my ultimate man list had, it started off like that, but it adapted over time.
Okay.
And what I think, in the end, it really came down to were my values.
Yeah.
And things like, how does he feel his place is in the world?
Okay.
Like not necessarily that he has to have this ultimate career, but does he feel strongly about his place in the world?
Got it.
Stuff like that. And I know that's a little esoteric, but I was really feeling into what does the man feel like,
So,
overall.
But that's specific about the man. I'm thinking of desire in the context and vision of the container of a relationship.
Okay. That's a little different.
Well, I think the reason why I'm saying this is we watched some recent videos where someone's talking about, I'm done with the dating process. I'm done with the dating process, right?
Right.
But yet, deep down, they want a relationship.
Yeah.
So if you're not willing to go, if you're saying I'm done with the dating process, and dating is a prerequisite to a relationship. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, coming back to fantasy, you could snap your fingers and hope someone will be there, but it requires dating, and you have to be willing to make that effort, the desire to make the effort, the vision to make that effort. So if you secretly want a relationship, but you're undermining it with, but I don't want to date, then what's your likelihood of success?
Good point.
That means your fear, your fantasy, or your past hurts is exceeding that desire.
Yeah.
Okay.
They might be coming from, disgust with the current, with the dates that they've had.
Okay.
Et cetera, et cetera. And they're in a place of I don't want to do this anymore. So is that also part of what you're saying? The
Yes. Well, coming back to when we talked the other day about dating apps, the disgust. I mean, a lot of people say I'm disgusted with the dating apps because I'm not getting what I want. Well, the apps are just serving up people. It's not, like there's this bias around, there's a pain around, well, I'm not getting what I want. I'm not getting what I want. So that exceeds that desire and vision. Okay.
Got it.
Now, I said it was desire, vision, and capacity to be in relationship.
Can you back up? So desire and vision, are they the same?
Desire is the want. Vision is what it looks like, what the relationship looks like.
Can you give me an example of both?
Well, this kind of piggybacks into the capacity piece. So the vision is that I'm going to make the effort.
Okay.
The desire.
I'm capable of making.
No. The desire is I want it. The vision is I'm making the effort to make it happen. Okay. Next is capacity.
Okay.
Now, when I talk about capacity, I talk about the capacity from an emotional perspective. I'm talking about it from a physical perspective. I'm talking about from a lifestyle perspective. So let me pick this part for a second, and I want your feedback.
I'm coming at it.
I know you're ready to go. I'm going to chop at the bit at this. So when I talk about emotional, some people have poor communication skills. Some have poor listening skills. Some people have anger issues. Some people have abandonment issues. And they're so strong that their capacity, because those fears, those past hurts, or even fantasy
or triggers
are exceeding the capacity to be in a relationship.
Okay, I gotcha.
So when I look at capacity, it's like, are you capable of being in a relationship? A lot of people, again, they want companionship, they want connection, they want sex, occasionally speaking.
Right.
But they're not capable of anything greater than that.
Okay, an example might be, and correct me if I'm wrong,
okay,
friends who are clearly dealing with triggers of their past childhood traumas, for example.
Okay.
And their big thing is control.
Okay.
So is that under capacity?
Yeah, I think if you're not willing to let go of control to some degree, and you're always in a state of control, then most likely your fear, your past hurt is going to affect you could be in a relationship. It's not that you can't be in a relationship,
right,
but are you going to have,
are you in it effectively?
Effectively.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then lastly, I say commitment to commitment. I actually own the URL, commitment to commitment.
Okay.
Well, because to want commitment is one thing, but are you committed to wanting it? Coming back to that person that doesn't want to date. Well, you might secretly want a relationship, but I won't ever date. How committed are you to this desire of a life partner?
Okay.
And I'm mainly thinking about men when I say this, because a lot of men, they want companionship, they want connection, they want sex, but they really don't want commitment. And they're not committed to even the commitment.
Committed to the commitment. So when we talk about being all in, that's committed to the commitment.
But no, all in is the end result. I'm committed to wanting all in.
I'm committed to wanting to be all in.
All in, exactly. And that's why this is about readiness.
Okay.
It's like when I met you, and I think when you felt the same way, you were committed to commitment.
Yeah, I was. But I had a couple of hit and runs that, were making me, redirect.
By the way, folks, I call short-lived experiences hit and runs. I call brief relationships that last 1, 2, or 3 months, I call those skirmishes. Okay. And then after that,
like a 3 or 4 dater, is that a hit and run?
That's a hit and run. Okay. Well, if you have sex with them, it's a hit and run. Or a hookup is another way to call it.
Yeah.
So now that we've established that this needs to exceed the fears, the past hurts, and fantasies.
Okay.
Why do you think I bring up fantasies?
Oh God, we talked about fantasy forever in our initial conversations. So I think fantasy is a scale, anything of which can be very unobtrusive, where it's something like, boy, I'd really like him to have hot abs, right? Like it's some sort of like idea of the man that, we have in the back of our mind that says, he's hot. right? As HAWT.
Okay.
Okay. But, you know, and I think that we all have some of those things in the back of our mind,
Okay.
even if we're not willing to admit them.
Okay.
So we may say, gosh, I really want this, you know, communicative, spiritual, you know, guy who likes to travel, do all of this stuff, you know, wants to hang out with me, you know, that kind of thing. I can do all of those things and still in the back of my mind go, he's going to dance like Channing Tatum. Right?
So now, but you're now still, okay. So, but in this case, you're talking about the guy or girl. Okay.
Yeah.
That part of fantasy. Where I think the fantasy lies is the expectation that if we love each other, it will all magically work out.
Okay. You're going at it. Okay.
I'm going, well, I wanted to add that to this equation.
Okay.
Because I can't tell you how many times over the years in my own dating experiences where there's a roadblock. There's like a real potential deal breaker. And someone will say, well, if we love each other, we can figure this out.
Right.
And I think, or the fantasy is the guy is married to someone else.
Okay.
You know, and you have this fantasy that they'll change his mind. He'll change his mind.
Well,
and you can actually,
flag, so.
well, yeah, well, that's a red flag for her.
Green.
But the fantasy is of making it green. Yeah. So I think in a lot of cases,
can I piggyback also?
Yeah. I love how we piggyback.
Is it also, you know, where somebody says, oh, you know, we don't fight. We're never going to fight. Like you have this dream idea of how this relationship is going to be, right? And then it doesn't turn out to be like that. And then you don't really connect like you thought you were connecting, or you don't really have communication the way you thought you were having. Okay, so you're using that as
I'm using that as part of fantasy too. It's all of our projections or even our delusion. You know, I was reading a comment about someone posted just a couple hours ago on one of my videos, or our videos, I should say now, how literally she has a crush on someone.
Okay.
And I mean, and he's in a relationship with someone else.
Okay.
She has a gigantic crush. She has a fantasy that somehow this will turn into a relationship. So her fantasy, exceeds her desire, capacity, commitment to commitment. Because if you really were committed to commitment, you choose somebody who's available.
Yeah.
But she's literally living in a fantasy world about that person. Yeah. I think the biggest hangups in relationships, though, at the end of the day, tend to be about fear and past hurts. Our fear and past hurts cause us to really not be relationship ready.
So do you have examples that come up for you with coaching and whatnot?
I'll just even share on my own example. You know, after my last significant relationship ended, I may have wanted a relationship, but my past hurt really, you know, that relationship wound really affected me. I wasn't ready for a relationship until I was able to release that. I would say my past hurts reflect an anxious attachment style as well. And so all of these things exceeded my desire, my vision, my capacity to be in a relationship because the pain felt greater than that desire. And sadly, I think a lot of people are in that state of fear or past hurts.
Yeah.
So much so that they think like their desire might be high, but their capacity is low because the fear exceeds the capacity. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Okay.
I actually, you know, my example of this is that, you know, after my last relationship, I spent almost 2 years where I was not on the dating scene at all.
Yeah.
Didn't want to be on the dating scene at all. And part of it was so that I was relationship ready. And, you know, I look back at it now, I was saying things like, boy, I just want to know what Paula wants, you know.
Yeah.
I used to say WWPW, what would Paula want, you know. And that was like my through line for those 2 years. And I realize now that I was working on my capacity.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did you have more to say?
Yeah. No.
So I wanted to say, so how do we spot this person? Really, there's only one way, is by asking questions It's about asking about past relationships. And you almost need to be like ninja level listening skills, to be able to determine is this person still in fear? Do they have past hurts? Do they even have a fantasy about relationship? Because fantasy is also where lust and limerence is can fuel the relationship.
Yeah.
When you're caught up in lust and limerence, that can fuel it.
Yeah.
And so, listen, I don't have this gigantic list. In fact, if you need some support with that, schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. I do an exercise called pre-qualify your prospect. But ultimately, to determine this, you must find out about their past. You have to dig in and get vulnerable with someone. And you have to be willing to share your own fears, insecurities, negative patterns, limiting beliefs. If
that's what's going to open them up.
Yeah, there's this fantasy that dating is so much about attraction and entertainment and romance and physical connection.
It's that too.
No, romance should be reserved for couples in a relationship, not as an entry point for a relationship.
Okay, say more to this.
Okay, if we're not getting to know each other, not when I say we, I don't mean you and I mean the collective we. If we're not genuinely getting to know someone's relationship readiness and you're focused on the entertainment and romance, which is usually before you know the person, how can you court someone if you don't even know if you want to be in a relationship with them? And it's a fantasy to think this person after 1 or 2 dates or 3 dates.
See, I mean, I had a circumstance where around the third date, it wasn't going anywhere conversationally, and at one point the conversation would go into something in depth and then he sort of pull back and be like, I don't want to go there. And I was like, then you're not my guy. So I think we also have to be able to
but was he romancing you while you're trying to investigate?
We were having a good time.
Okay. You know
what?
We
were having a good time. We were going.
The bodies are buried from here to the center of the earth of everybody having a good time and being burned. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because listen, you don't have to subscribe to what I believe. And you can see that we have a little bit of, discord here. Discord? But I'm like, I believe if you're focused on having a good time, you're going to miss a lot of red flags. If you're focused on good time, then it's only about the performative nature of relationship and not the real getting to know someone. Now, can you ask questions and have a good time? Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
But most people struggle with it.
Well, and
they don't know how to ask questions.
I learned after probably about 10 of those that I was not going to get my answers. Yeah. So that was the end of that.
So what do you say we do a workshop on that?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay, let's do that sometime. Hey, listen, did you find value in what we just shared right now? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Post a comment below. I do my best, or we both do our best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in these videos, please hit the like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel, our channel now, and hit that notification bell as well. And if you want to connect with us, click on the links below, schedule a discovery call, follow us on social media, all that good stuff. All right, time for Q&A.
Q&A.
If you have a question, write the word question, then post the question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. There's a little $sign in the chat box. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Aslay. He's my son who passed away over 7 years ago. In his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process, Insight Institute, and we give scholarships to coaching as well. Let's try to get $50 for Connor tonight, okay? And I see our first question came in. Do you want to read it? Can you read it?
Yeah, I can read it. Do all men need to feel financially successful before they're ready for a serious relationship? What can women do about men who are struggling financially? Ooh. What do you say to that?
I was hoping you'd answer that first. Do you want me to put it up again?
I mean, I think that I think men in their mind feel like, yes, they do have to have some financial readiness. And in a lot of ways, I think it can stop or detract from being in a relationship. Like it's, you know, we have friends, for example, that it's a big point of contention with them. Do I think that the women feel the same way? I mean, I know a lot of women who are like, yeah, you know, I'm the girl. Like, I want him to buy me a few dinners and take me traveling and that type of thing. What is reality, though? What's reality, Sassy? I mean, to me, is it Sassy who said this?
No, it was Angela.
Oh, I mean, if you think about it, Angela, how many men, if we look at like how many men and women are equally yoked out there in the dating world, I think we're dreaming to think that that is the case most of the time. And so then it becomes a question of like, can you carry your own little red wagon, and does it matter? Like, does it matter if he's not making what you think he shouldn't be making?
So I think, well, this is a great question. Let me just look at it from a statistical point of view. I believe here in the United States, 80% of Americans still live paycheck to paycheck. The average person doesn't have but 3 months to a year of savings in the bank should something happen to them professionally. So that represents 80% of the marketplace. Now,
is that in our age group, midlife and beyond, or is
that, I believe that's in the total. But
okay.
But the reality is, when we look at our age demographic, 75% of singles who are over 45 years old are divorced. And divorce comes the unraveling of the tapestry of the financial tapestry you had with someone else. And that makes it even more cumbersome, if you will, from a financial standpoint.
And then you have, you know, men who are, how do I put it, harmed by that. Let's just say, you know, they believe like they're not going to go back into anything that maybe, as Eddie Murphy says, half Eddie.
I haven't heard that before. So I can speak from personal experience, Angela. I would say that the financial piece of the puzzle did and still does affect me to some degree. I wished I had more in the bank. I wish I had in the bank to cover us both, quite frankly. That's not the case after getting wiped out in the market crash and a few other things in my life. And while I can take care of my own red wagon, as you put it, and thankfully you can take care of your own red wagon, carry your own red wagon. But I will say, for a lot of men, this is a concern. Now, some men have a very, what's the word I'm thinking of? There can be gold diggers when it comes to men. You know, there can be users and that sort of thing. So I think by the way, money should be one of the most important conversations two people should have, because it represents the reason why 50% of people break up is centered around something regarding money. So I think it's an important conversation. Even in the book 8 Dates by Drs. John and Julie Gottman. By the way, all the books I recommend tonight are listed below, and Jonathan recommends books. The money conversation is the fourth conversation, at least in this book. It's 8 essential conversations to have with someone, and work and money is a crucial piece of this puzzle. So I think that was a great question, Angela. Thanks so much. All right, let's keep going here. Make me a Toronto star. Do you know anyone that was limerent for a coworker they never dated, and how did they get over that? So were you hot for someone you worked with, and how'd you get over it? Did it ever happen to you? God, it's happened to me.
Not necessarily for someone I worked with. But I mean, I have been limerent before.
So coming back to, let's go back to our relationship readiness
I'm just going to throw this out there. I think time and circumstance changes everything. Time and circumstance changes everything. And what I mean by that is, it may feel like crap right now, but in 6 months from now, you may be like, John, who, you know, and maybe you've moved, or he's moved, or, you know.
Okay. I have a different take.
Okay, go.
I think self-discipline. Like, look, if you have a crush on someone, and you've made, coming back to the fantasy we talked about earlier, you know, if you've created a fantasy, it requires self-awareness. I mean, it requires self-awareness to go, holy shit, I'm in a fantasy right now. I'm in a projection. I am acting towards this person to some degree, you probably need a kick upside your head from a friend saying, you're going
Yeah.
batshit crazy here for a
there's
second.
that.
And please forgive if I offended anyone with that. But I think it requires a reality check. And that reality check isn't going to be based on time. It's going to be based on self-discipline.
Well, and I also, the question becomes, you're limerent for them. Are they limerent for you? And maybe circumstance are saying you can't be or shouldn't be or whatever.
Yeah.
So, we don't know all of the circumstances, but I think limerence is such a weird little beast because you get you all hot and bothered and excited and inspired even.
Yeah.
But it is like one of the hardest come downs.
Oh God. Well,
suffer.
extreme infatuation. So limerence, extreme infatuation, lust is that passionate desire to be physically intimate with someone. And these are coming back to the relationship readiness, is that capacity to temper oneself in limerence. Because limerence is a fantasy. It's a projection.
Is it? Or is it just that you're lusting after somebody?
No, that's lust is usually a dopamine type of hit, but limerence is dopamine too.
Yeah.
It's a chemical
excessive.
thing. Yeah. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that one. Our thoughts on that one. Catherine's in the house.
Catherine.
Do you think you really need to dig in to really question their past before you do meet and greet? I tend to do just light version on the first phone call.
What's your answer to that?
Okay. I'm crossing my arms.
Yeah.
It means I'm defensive. No, I'm just kidding. Sometimes I don't know where to put my hands. Okay, let me go like this. I would love to do a deep dive before I ever meet someone.
Right.
That would be how realistic. I do a little bit of fishing, well, for example, I remember shortly before I met you, I got on the phone with someone and I said to him, literally within 10 minutes of the phone call, I said, when did your last relationship end? 10 minutes into the call. Do you know what she said?
That's not a hard question, though.
Do you know what she said?
Like 10 minutes ago?
She said last night. So she said last night her 2-year relationship ended and she was on the dating apps. And I said to her, well, let's talk in 6 months to a year. And she goes, no, it was over well before that. I am not dipping my toe in that. So I'm grateful that I asked the simplest of questions by the way, another good question to ask. Does anyone believe they're in a relationship with you?
That is a great question. You asked me that at first and I was like, what? Does anybody believe? But that's a great question.
Yeah. By the way, I got that from my friend Ariel Ford. By the way, I doubt someone's going to be honest with that question.
Well, but it does make them think like, there's somebody off on the side that I'm like trying to push away and they're not going. Like, do they think they're in relationship with you? Yeah, they do.
Or you are really in a relationship with them and you're not being honest. Yeah, but again, the person who's dishonest with that is going to lie to you as well. Yeah. But my point is if you can do I guess here's a couple of my criteria on the phone beforehand. Try to get a sense of when their last relationship ended. Try to get a sense of who ended the relationship. You can ask those couple questions and really pay attention to how they respond. If they're responding with anger, with contempt about the other person, that's a red flag. Now you might want to meet them still and get some sense of them, but this is kind of coming back to understanding rhetoric.
Yeah.
It's and what I mean to say is people reveal themselves. So why not get as much information on the phone ahead of time? How do you feel about that?
So my answer to this is I think it depends. I think it depends because you can get on a phone call and you can have a wonderful conversation that may not be that deep, but it banters or it bounces and there's like tremendous rapport. And you haven't had an opportunity per se to go deep, but you feel like there's some sort of a connection there that will. And
sure.
And so, but I am the person that, I'm curious about everything and I will tend to go down the deep rabbit holes as quickly as I can. So that being said, I would do a lot of video calls.
No, wait, be careful when you say a lot. You would at least have one video call
Before I
meeting
met.
them.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
When you said a lot, I just want to be, yeah.
No, I do one video call before I actually did a meet and greet. And the video call wouldn't be very long, maybe 10 minutes. And it was more than anything to make sure, A, I wasn't getting catfished.
Yeah.
But, B, like I live in LA and I don't want to drive 45 minutes to go meet someone that, I'm going to know pretty quickly whether or not that's going to be, something I want to explore. But more importantly, I think you can tell a lot in that video call in terms of like just their answers, whether or not they're willing to get down in the dirt with you, so to speak. So
it's interesting because we didn't do a video call.
We didn't.
But I do remember saying the following to you. I said, hey, do you mind if we ask each other some serious questions just to see if we're a fit? Do you remember me saying that?
I remember that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, it was so kind of smooth and subtle. Hey, listen, I don't know if you're like me, but I'm looking for a significant, serious relationship. Right. Do you mind if we ask each other some serious questions just to see if we're a fit? And we can have fun too. Was exactly what I said within the first 10 minutes. Yeah. And we end up talking for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, do you mind if I don't know if you're like me, I don't want to waste my time in this process. And by setting it up that way, it's like, look, I'm not, listen, this isn't all about fun and games.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for a fucking reason.
Yeah.
Excuse the F word.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for a reason.
Yeah. And I'm serious about it.
Yeah.
So let's.
And if someone goes, no, let's keep it light. If someone rejects that, then I'm going to tell you, that's a clue. Someone rejects going deep. That's a clue, whether you do it on the first phone call, but certainly after the second or third date. If you can't go deep with this person and they're like, let's just keep it light, then chances are all they want is a casual relationship.
My good friend would say they're married.
Yeah, they're married. This is in response to the money question. In this state of economy right now, it's even more important to discuss and talk about finances and being honest about one's financial standings. Totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. And she goes on to say, Krista says, in my opinion, if someone is struggling financially, priority should be focused on the stability rather than the romance.
Wait, priority should be focused?
Yeah, and I guess it depends on what struggling represents. If someone's, because here's the thing, I wouldn't want someone precluded from having a relationship.
Yeah.
And for example, I have a friend, she's rather wealthy, and her partner, it's just, doesn't have that much money in the bank, very little money in the bank, and he's taken time off work, and she's happily to support them. So I think it also depends on the circumstances of the collective.
Yeah.
And she's a type of person that's generous. She's the type of person that it's like money is irrelevant to her. She's not caught up in the masculine and feminine, the role models and all that kind of stuff.
So,
how I like to do that.
I do know, but I want to jump on that for a second, because I think this is an important adjunct to this conversation about the finances, which is that we have an expectation in society still, and you kind of brought me to the dark side on this, I have to say.
Okay.
But that we should be, as women, that we should be wined and dined.
Yes.
And I've had, I can't say that I've come from humble beginnings, certainly, I was going to make a joke about that, but I won't do it. From the jerk, but anyway.
Okay.
But, the reality is that I think all of us have gone through ups and downs, financially, and certainly in the last economic, markets. And I think that we have to realize that we're in a different state of mind, financially and economically. And I've now come to the understanding, like, you've talked about, which is that the man doesn't, it's not his obligation to buy.
Yes.
And it's not his duty.
Yeah.
It's a right. He can be generous, but it's not his duty. And I think that the sooner we as a society really start to look at equal footing
Yeah.
in that way, and it may not be that, you earn as much as him or whatever the case
Yeah.
is. I get that. But I do think that the equal footing piece is an important piece in this.
Now, I just want you're going to get a flack from a
I
lot of
know.
women. And I just want everyone to know that's a woman saying this. She subscribes to my philosophy that it is not our obligation, nor does it prove worth. A man buying a few dinners, a man paying, doesn't demonstrate that he thinks you're worthy. Because if that were the case, why would so many men ghost? Why would so many men disappear after they paid for a half a dozen dinners or drinks or that?
Well,
sort
they
of
might
thing?
not want to pay for anymore. There is that,
Okay, but this is why, folks, I love the book, If the Buddha Dated. If the Buddha Dated. There's a link below to get this book. I highly recommend getting this. Why? Because it throws out the bullshit gender rhetoric when it comes to relationship and says, how can two people date from a heart-centered place? Because ultimately, what is it that you want from a relationship? If you want a life partner, it's mostly about what you want to feel. Now, if your worth is tied up into someone treating you, if that's where you derive your worth, I promise you that's a recipe for disaster.
But that's what some people are about, and that's okay too for them.
Yeah, but I guarantee you it will backfire at some point. If that's where you demonstrate, if that's where your worth comes from, is that expectation. And quite frankly, and we'll be candid about our relationship, on our first date, you wanted to treat, you wanted to secretly pay, but I paid.
I literally lost my wallet. I really did.
Yeah. But you were like waiting for me to go to the bathroom. You told me that you wanted to pay.
We were having this joke about, man versus woman and who pays the bill on the first date and that type of stuff. And, it was like, it was like an hour-long conversation. And then he goes to the bathroom and I'm like, oh, I'm going to pay. And I go to pull out my credit card and I can't find my wallet. It was next to my car, by the way, so it's fine.
So in all fairness, I ended up treating. We had coffee at a really nice, fancy restaurant in Marina Del Rey. The second time we went out, I took you out to a fancy dinner, and then you treated. Then you treated. By the way, we went out for sushi on I think it was our fifth date, and it was like a $200 bill. Like she treated, and you know what? We take turns because we believe, when you treat someone, it's a demonstration of appreciation. When you say, I'm going to treat, says, I think you're worthy. It has nothing to do with the gender. It's all about appreciation.
And guys want to feel the same appreciation that women do.
Exactly. I once polled 10,000 men, how would you feel if a woman treated on a second date? And do you know what they said?
What?
She's one of a kind. She's a unicorn. Don't let her go. She's a partnership material. That was just someone who was willing to treat the next date. Okay. That's how men felt. So coming back to that original question, I really appreciate this question. Hey, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what we just shared on it. Post a comment below. We do our best to read them all. And if you liked what we just shared just now, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel as well. All right. We've got another question. Hi, guys. Question. There are so many men not asking open-ended questions, and a lot of them don't have a clue on what they're looking for. How do you handle this? I'm so fatigued. I feel defeated. How do you feel about that?
Well, Arlene, I gotta tell you, there were moments when I was on the dating, merry-go-round and got tired of being the one that was always asking the questions. And I invested in some card games that I would take out on
Keep talking. I'm going to find it.
Third date. Yeah. And there's all kinds of games that you can get now, icebreaker games and whatnot, and, shuffle through the cards. But I posed it on the second or third date. This one is called the And.
It's the And game. And by the way, it's called the dating edition.
Yeah.
Conversations card game.
Yes. And it's, if you want to know, it's by a company called The Skin Deep. You can look them up. I think it's theskindeep.com. But what's great about these cards is that I would go in and I'd make it a super playful idea. And I wouldn't necessarily do it on the coffee meet per se, but I might have taken one or two of the questions and stuck them in the back of my mind, as a way to open end, my side of the conversation. And I would maybe flip it and say, what do you think about, or what do you think my idea of that answer is?
By the way, the first one I pulled up, I want to
Yeah.
read this out loud. How do you think I really feel right now?
That's kind of a weird one because
No,
you're just
but-
meeting them.
No, I know, but let's say you're 20 minutes in. I'm just picking. That was the first one I picked up.
Yeah, you're 20 minutes in.
What is something
You'd
you would
never
never
give up.
give up? Ooh.
What's something you'd never give up? And then, so I would take this question, and in the back of my head, I would, I might hold on to that question and, ask them to flip it. Are you interested in anything that I'd be willing to give up? That type of thing. And it's kind of like we almost have to train them a little bit. I hate to say it. I don't want to have to be the one to train, out there in the dating world. But if we do want to get the answers to our questions, sometimes we do have to.
You got to lead by example.
You have to lead by example.
It's interesting. I have a client.
Here, what excites you most about your future? Oh, what excites you most about my future?
But it's interesting. I have a client who she had just signed up with me, working with me, and she was a few weeks in, and she met someone. And her meeting, she told the man on the first date, she goes, I'm working with a dating and relationship coach, and these are the workbooks I'm working on right now. And he's like, really? And she goes, yeah. And he's like, well, tell me what this is.
Mm.
And as he and she were reviewing the information that we're going through, it built conversation that they wouldn't have otherwise, because we're so caught up in the, how you doing? How's your day going? What, the Seinfeld joke. Did you have a good day? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it allows for deeper conversations.
Yeah.
So first off, I want to acknowledge, I forgot who actually posted that question, was that, yes, men are not good at this. I'm sorry, ladies. They're not good at going deeper. But that's not to suggest that they're not capable. My dearest friend isn't the type that go deep, but he is absolutely willing to go there if you ask the question.
We were questioning that. And one day I decided to ask him some questions, and I got in there, and I kind of and he has depth. So, it's not to say that these guys don't have depth.
Yeah.
It's to say that I think they're not being asked the questions, and they're not being asked to ask the questions.
So this begs the question of how often. Okay, so roughly 75% of singles today meet through an online dating vehicle.
Yeah.
Whether it's social media, whether it's a dating app, that sort of thing.
Where else are you going to do it?
And a lot of people are not good at that initial conversation. Sometimes their humor comes across the wrong way. They could have said something that might even seem, sexual or that sort of thing, when they're banter. They're trying to be funny. They're trying to do something. And I think oftentimes we can reject someone really quickly. Before we ever meet them. And so coming back to, this is why that telephone call is so important. I got to tell you a quick story. This happened about 4 years before I met you, and I'm guessing on the date. It was Bumble. I got a message from a woman. She wrote me this beautiful message. And I'm like, wow. I wrote back and said, God, I'm so appreciative of the message you left me.
Yeah.
And then we had a couple exchanges. She said, let's get on the phone. She goes, great, I'm free at 2:00. I'll call you at 2:15. And I dialed her up, and this is how she answered the phone. Hi.
After all this beautiful message.
Yeah. It was just hi. And I'm like this gregarious, like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. Fine.
Oh my goodness.
Like, it was just like that. And like within 10 or 15 seconds, my energy went from here to the all of a sudden, I didn't even know what to say.
Yeah.
The energy across the phone was so palpably negative.
Yeah.
And you know what? I finally did. My normal pattern is a people pleaser.
Right.
I would sit and talk to this person and try to build rapport and convince them to like me. Like I feel like you don't like me, and I would do everything to
It's my
convince you.
job to convince you that you do.
And you know what? I stood up for myself and said, I'm getting the sense that we're not hitting it off right now.
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, you're probably in a bad mood.
You're probably.
That's what she said. And I said, you know what? You're probably right. And we ended the call.
Wow.
So, and I know this is a little off from what you were bringing up earlier, but my point in bringing this up is, you know what? Sometimes we can have a good experience and you get on the phone, it changes everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes you could have a mediocre experience with the exchange, but get on the phone. Listen, these days, having a qualified prospect is a
it's a rarity.
It's a rarity. It's like an exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
So when you've got a qualified prospect, go with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I think so.
I tell a man using No, this is the question.
Oh.
How can you tell if a man is using you for validation and support and isn't genuinely interested in you from the beginning? That's an interesting question. What do you think about that? I'm trying to think how, I'm going to answer that.
Go ahead.
There was a period of time, lots of it. I would say in the 20 years since my divorce, a lot of my dating experience was because I didn't feel good about myself. And just having somebody to talk to, was, even though I may not have been capable of a relationship, just someone having talked to gave me a sense of validation. And
you are a words of affirmation guy.
Yeah.
Words of adoration guy.
So how do you tell, do you know why they call it dating?
Go ahead. Why?
Because holy fucking shit, trying to figure out another human being was taken in the dictionary. What is dating? It's a process of getting to know someone. Can we just quickly determine these things? Sometimes red flags pop up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's trial and error. That's a really tough one, Angela.
I want to just say something around this though, and isn't genuinely interested in you. I think that I love the distinction of when one is dating, of whether or not they are being interesting, or being interested, and I think when you can tell when they're interested, right? They're truly curious about whether or not they're curious. I think you can tell when people are genuinely interested.
How many times, oh my God, you're so amazing. You're so wonderful. I've never felt like this. That appears to be interest.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about are things like, they come up and they go, so tell me more about this thing, or like you're talking about.
Like you were a dancer, like you choreographed dance. Tell me about
more, like say more. And that to me is someone who's interested. Someone who's interesting is looking for you to pat them on the back.
Yeah, good point. Good point. That's a very good point. I think the reason why I was shaking my head is you have to be careful when someone is expressing extreme feelings about you, about how they feel about you. That might be so they can get some sense of validation from you. But as Paula pointed out, the critical piece is, tell me more about that. Really? How did that go? Where did you go from there? It's the, what did we call it in sales? It's the drilling down.
It's the drilling down.
Yeah.
Say more, say more. What about that was of interest to you? How about, those type of things. So, yeah.
All right. We have another question from Johika. With everything going on nowadays with safety, how do you navigate a new relationship or stay positive? Man, you know what? I think Google the fuck out of a person.
Yeah, but sometimes you get nothing.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna answer how
You got to look up their LinkedIn. You got to look at their social media first, just to get a baseline. And by the way, I said that tongue in cheek. So if I offended anyone, I apologize.
I'm going to answer how I used to answer my kids when they were turning around 5 years old.
Okay.
And that is that, we always heard, don't talk to strangers.
Yeah.
Right. And there is a fear, right? There's a lack of trust and an issue of safety. And I mean, I grew up in an urban environment in Boston. So, that was like, you had to have eyes in the back of your head.
Yeah.
And I was brought up with the saying, like, don't talk to strangers, right?
Yeah.
But what I used to tell my kids, and I still, and I think they really take it seriously even to this day, is that it's not don't talk to strangers. It's, does that person make you feel something that doesn't feel good? And even if they're just walking down the street and they somehow, there's something niggling in the back of your mind that's like, something's just not right.
Yeah.
It's probably true. And it was like a weird thing to navigate for a 5-year-old, but they started to get it. It was kind of like, yeah, you can talk to strangers, but if they feel funny to you, then there's something up,
Do you remember the show we were watching the other night, Soulmates?
Yeah.
And the scene with the serial killer guy, but how his
Don't give
look.
it away.
Well, by the way, I'm sorry to give it away, but there's a scene where he seems all happy to her, and then his look
face
changed like
changes.
right then and there,
Yes.
and it was so interesting how his look.
Yeah.
This is an area where you almost, coming back to being a detective, I did have last year, I had a CIA or a FBI specialist on talking about reading body language and that sort of thing. This is tough. I jokingly said,
easy.
Google them as much as possible. I'm a big believer of even doing background checks. I had a woman I was speaking to, and she said something that after I heard it, it happened to be about my son who passed away. And I thought, she was being clairvoyant or like a medium about him.
Like I'm getting a download.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? Something doesn't feel right. And I've been public about my son, on social media. So I decided to Google her phone number and a few other things. And I found out that it was registered to some mail. Like there were all of a sudden I knew something was fishy because it was like one thing. And sometimes
now we have AI in the mix.
Yeah.
We have, scammers. It's kind of, it is a little crazy.
Well, fortunately in our case, we both had mutual friends. So that felt,
Yeah.
When we think of dating today, you're right. We're meeting total strangers and it requires a bit more investigation. So my point was, you can do a background check on someone. I mean, nowadays you can do a reverse lookup. I have a friend.
But back it up. Even you had to trust your intuition.
Yes,
and that was where that's what got you there, and that's what I was teaching my kids. And I think that's an important piece to it.
Yeah,
we have to trust our intuition.
And I think, is this piggybacking on that? Those men are extremely charming, flattering, excessive in their oh no, this is part of a different
Trying
one.
to wear down your guard. Yeah.
So here, music design wants to piggyback on that. I research each guy before even speaking on the phone. I use different online apps to deep dive. Hey, I Googled you.
Did you find anything?
Yeah, I found your social media page just to make sure the pictures were legit.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why. If you have a question, write the word question and post the question thereafter. By the way, we did have some questions come in. Do you mind if I read one of them?
Go ahead.
Okay. You haven't seen this. So I've been seeing a man for 2 months. We text daily and see each other once a week, but he hasn't talked about us. Do I bring it up or keep going? What are your thoughts on that?
2 months?
2 months.
Is it 2 months once every 10 days and like you're just going out and trying to catch up, or is it 2 months and you're actually having deep conversations? I mean, I don't know if time is really the test, but I do think that there is a point when you do need to bring it up. And I think that is a matter of trust. And
what do you think I'm going to say?
I know you're going to say X amount of hours or something. You're going to have
that's not where I'm going in there.
But hold on. The answer I would say is yes, you bring it up, because I mean, You got to know these things, right?
If the penis is going inside the
Ah, there you go.
vagina, folks, which is another way of saying if two people are having sex, okay, I think sex is the barometer for this. If two people are being physically intimate and one person wants a significant relationship, then this should be the conversation before you ever get physical with someone is, hey, why are we doing this? Are we exploring a relationship or are we just having a good time?
Well, okay. And there are women, who might be there just to have sex too. So
Again, if you're the
It's-
person,
you
if
could
you're,
be.
well, she's asking,
Yeah.
she obviously is asking
Yeah.
because she wants some
she wants
basic,
to-
well, so what,
she
know
wants
what
to
bothers
establish
me?
some guardrails.
You know what?
and I
If
get
you
that.
ever have to ask a man, where's this relationship going? You are already behind the 8 ball. If you have
That's
to,
true.
because if you're not, okay, this is Jonathan Asley's point of view. I don't know if Paula agrees, but I'm a believer that two people, the minute they start a physical connection with one another, that they should be talking about where's this relationship going? Like, what's the purpose of us doing this? Which is where my dating vows were invented. So you have some clarity. Oh, by the way, there's a link below to get my dating vows. The first aspect of it, the minute two people are physically intimate, is like, hey, we're exploring a relationship so we can declare something serious within 3 to 6 months. We've agreed to be monogamous. We've
Yeah.
agreed to be exclusive. We've agreed that, hey, if something isn't working out, we speak up. We operate from a place of truthfulness, and we speak up versus ghosting, disappearing, or pulling away. And with the intent to maybe, if again, have these conversations. I believe in the first 90 days of the process, it's your relationship should be progressing upward,
Yeah.
not you hit a peak and then it's going downward.
And I do believe that things, when everyone's coming from a truthful place, there isn't any question.
Yeah.
There isn't any question. You know where your man is. You know where your woman is. Like,
this comes back to, someone was asking us, why do you two talk about your relationship so frequently? And I'm like, we don't talk about our relationship. What do we do?
I mean, we talk about how we feel.
Yeah.
It's
about each other.
Yeah.
And in those
a good
feelings,
way, right?
In those feelings, we talk about how we feel, how you make, how I'm feeling in that moment.
Mhm.
By the way, we are constantly not in awe of each other, but I'll be saying something, you'll be saying something. I'm like, God, I freaking love you.
Yeah, I know.
Like she'll be doing one of her rants kind of thing, or one of her blah, 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 and I'm like, and what's that?
I'm off on a tangent.
Yeah, she's off on a tangent. I'll be looking at her and she'll be going blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, God, I freaking love you because I love what's in your heart. I love your brilliance. I love your sass. I love the way your mind works. And I want to acknowledge that. Is that talking about the relationship, or is that attention, affection, appreciation, and acceptance?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all the things that, make my heart flutter.
and you do the same with
and
me.
I do the same, and I feel the same.
Yeah.
No,
I love it when she stops and she goes, I freaking love you. And my point is, listen,
but it's obvious, and it's been obvious from I was going to say day 1, but really day 10.
Okay, so here's the thing. You can choose. Remember, we started this conversation. You could choose casual relationships. You could choose situationships. You could choose friends with benefits. You could choose hookups, a hit and run, skirmishes. And oftentimes you're not in the driver's seat of choosing. If you're a woman, you're in the back seat going, he's driving the bus because you've given him the keys. I'm here to say, ladies, you are in charge of your relationship destiny. But most importantly, look at throughout history, relationships have been transactional for the most part. It's been based on dependency. And what I'm here to say is it's time, folks, it's time to stop fucking around. You either want a deep, heartfelt, in the heart relationship where you're both communicative from the heart.
And it's okay to ask for it.
Yeah, and exactly. It's okay to ask for it. Otherwise, then just accept the transactional nature of the relationship and don't complain about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I think we covered a lot with that one.
Yes.
Hey, I'd like to
Okay.
hear your thoughts on that. Post a comment below. We do our best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in these videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell right there so you can follow new videos. And if you want to connect, whether it's with myself, I'm sure Paula would jump in if you wanted to ask her a question. There's links below. Schedule a discovery call. Follow me on social media. I keep yours private. And I'd love to hear your feedback on this video. Folks, we are so grateful that you allow us to come in your life for an hour or so. We hope you found value in this. And just remember, if you want to determine someone's real intentions about relationships, then you got to go deeper than the how's your day going? Did you have a good day? I hope you had a good day conversation. Like Seinfeld.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Wishing you a super duper wonderful evening. Be well. Thanks. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.